We are on.
Cool. Well, welcome back to another episode of 5onFriday. Today we've got a new edition. We've got Callum from Cognism. We've also got Kate, Costas, and Justin, the old schools, who are here to help and guide another sales professional and help we can move things forward in his career. So, Callum, can you give us a quick one on us, on you? Sorry, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an SDR at Cognism. I've been at Cognism for 10 months, so I've only been in sales for 10 months. And the main reason why I'm here is to kind of get external opinions on everything that I've been trained on over the past 10 months. I feel like I've done nothing but learn stuff for 10 months. And some of it works, some of it doesn't. And it's just about getting a second opinion from people in the industry and also bring that sort of insight back to my team at Cognism.
Brilliant. And for those who don't know, what does Cognism do?
We're a B2B lead generation platform, so enabling you to sort of scale contact data on your ideal target customers.
Brilliant. Nicely said. Okay. All right. I'm going to let the other three quickly introduce themselves for the guys that don't know them. They're all big hitters, but let's start with you, Kate.
Hi, nice to be called a big hitter. Kate Lewis. I lead the sales, and I'm a co-founder of E4Enable, which is a sales coaching platform.
Nice one. Costas?
I'm Costas. I was thinking about Moto. I don't know why, but I lead sales teams for a B2B conference organizer globally, and that's it. That's me.
Great. Also known as the Chief. Don't know why you didn't put that in there.
Also known as the Chief. Yeah, I go by the Chief. Yeah.
Cool. Justin, quick one on you, if that's right, mate.
Yeah, honored to be here. I'm Justin Michael. Some people call me the Machine. It's a hilarious nickname. I've run sales teams across North America, and I have a book on technology quotient, which is, becoming one with your tech stack. And I'm excited to be here. I often get referred to Cognism when I'm looking for data in Europe.
Awesome. For that book, I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's stellar. It's next on my list. But for those out there,
You're too kind.
just get reading.
Checks in the mail.
Good man. Thanks a lot, mate. Okay, so slightly different format this week. What we want to do is Callum's prepared a couple of things that the Kate is going to share. We're going to start with, I believe, is it a cold email or just a standard prospecting email, Callum? Then we're going to go into a video, and that's where we're going to kick things off. So if that's all right, Kate, over to you.
Yeah, okay. So you should be able to see the email from Callum on the screen. I think, Callum, you were prospecting to Costas. So the first person, I think, to give a bit of feedback on how that made you feel, Costas, is you.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if people can actually see this, but it would be helpful if someone was to actually read. It's not a long email. So, Kate, do you want to do the honors? Because my eyesight is not great.
To be honest, guys,
exactly what...
Callum, can you do the honors for us?
Or can you do the honors?
Yeah, I'll read it out because I can read it in my voice how I'd approach it.
Absolutely.
Of course. So, hey, Costas, I understand worldwide business research's sales teams look to engage with global industry leaders across finance, HR, and pharmaceuticals. I noticed you have a passion for fostering and development and performance of. What should I carry on?
Go for it.
Okay, keep going.
Of your team. Because of this, I wanted to understand whether you've considered how much time your team actually spend engaging with the industry leaders you want to sell to. The reason why I ask is because Cognism reduces the time spent manually prospecting and enables your team to action the direct contact information of target decision makers at scale. Through Cognism, your sales team could engage more of your ideal prospects using high quality contact information, convert more leads through a multi-channel approach, and generate more new business opportunities by saving time. Does it make sense learning more?
Good. So I received that email, I saw the first line. What do you think, what were you hoping to achieve by sending me that email? I just want to hear your thoughts first of all.
So the first line, I always try and personalize it. I mean, I always find it quite difficult to hyper-personalize it, but just something that they know I haven't, it's not part of an email cadence. It's not just some automated email. They know it's tailored to their business and the customers that they speak to. If I'm targeting a sales director, obviously they're quite interested in their prospective clients. So something that makes them want to read the second line.
Mm-hmm. but what were you hoping to achieve? So does this make sense in learning more? You were hoping me to come back to you and say, oh yeah, absolutely, let's talk, or what were you hoping to achieve by sending that email?
Okay, yeah. Well, to kind of have like a low friction CTA, so like call to action. So
Okay.
whether I always feel a bit uncomfortable asking for time. And I kind of think learning more could either trigger them to just be like, ask for more information, which could then lead on to something more, or they could say, yeah, I would like to learn more. How is next week? I have time on Wednesday.
Okay, great. Anything else that you want to get out of that email? Anything that you wanted me to either learn or to understand or to think?
Well, I wanted to kind of drill down on what's important to you. I noticed on your LinkedIn, you care about like developing high performance sales teams and then managing your sales teams to do the best. So I kind of wanted to pull on that and then make you think, hey, like, have you ever thought about how much time your sales team are actually engaging with the people that you want to sell to? Like, it makes them really think.
That was a great question. You know what my first thought was when I read that? No, they've got 8 hours in the day. They might as well just do the job.
This is the thing. Like, I mean, in many of my emails before I used emails like this, I would kind of do questions that would only really work for people who actually were actively looking for a lead generation solution. And what I realized is most of my prospects don't actually know they have these problems, and it's my job to make them realize it. So that was what I was hoping for with that question.
Well, you do something which I thought it was interesting, but you did it very later on the email. The last sentence, I think it's something that personally I engage with that line. Through Cognism, your sales team could engage more of your ideal prospects using high quality contact information. Now that in itself, it's a statement about what Cognism potentially do, right? So I can understand what Cognism, but this is the problem. So the problem that I may have as someone who is managing a large team is, how do I gauge more prospects through quality leads, quality information? How do I do that? How do I automate that? Which means that I might be saving time, which leads to my previous point, which people have 8 hours in the day, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big problem for me. What my problem is, how do they engage with more people? So I don't want to start, telling you off. But I think that the only bit that attracted my attention was the last sentence, that if you were to actually put this in a way like, what is the problem that Cognism solve?
Yeah.
And if you manage to put this way up on the email, you will get my attention. Now, I've always believed that email should it should generate some interest. You don't sell over email. You just give a teaser, right? To make me think. And a lot of people talk about personalization, whether you went to school with someone or whatever that bullshit that people have been talking for years. It doesn't work with me. But what does work is that the problem that you're trying to solve. Because that problem, if you've done your research properly, should apply to not all of us, but to many directors. So you have more chance of engaging me reading your email by saying what Cognism does, but not stating what Cognism does. It's like, okay, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And start like that. I thought it was, because obviously I've seen your video that we're going to play later. I thought your email was definitely, it wasn't as strong as I would have liked it to be. It wouldn't have engaged me. I would have seen the first line, which is, it doesn't say anything to me. It doesn't speak to me. But the last line, the last sentence, great. Convert this to a problem that you're solving, put it further up, and I would definitely read your email.
Yeah.
I have a few questions on this. Callum, I want to get your feedback on that before I jump in.
Go on what Costas just said.
Yeah.
I've always kind of led with that line, and that might actually explain a lot. I guess it's it's pretty known that you should lead with value rather than like lead with something that's just trying to prove that it's not an automated email, which is kind of something that I've not realized till now. And who knows, like, how many people, if I send 100 emails, how many of them are actually going to read to the final line? So it makes a lot of sense having that at the top.
Very few will probably even open it in the case of like looking at your cell phone and the preview text, right? Getting into your I can just open one of my email boxes of this insanity, but how am I going to see across this tiny screen, right? What's the subject line of this email?
Cognism.
It just says Cognism. Okay.
Yeah.
And did you send this from a Gmail, or where did you send this? Did you send this out of a
From my
sequencer?
Outlook account. Typically, I'd send it through like a sequencing tool like SalesLoft.
Yeah, so I know we're going to get to the pitch and everything, but from your name on down is all going to get spam caught. You don't want to have a picture, and your entire signature is going to prevent this from getting delivered like 30% of the time. So just from best on, scratch it. If I sent this email, I would go straight to, look, I know you're using Outreach, SalesLoft, name the sequencers and say 30% of your data is bouncing, right? If you use one of the majors like a Zoom Info, maybe you'll get lucky on certain lists and have a high degree of accuracy, but because of job changes, about 30 to 40% of data that you buy is off. Europe is really hard, and you can't send email in Germany, and you have to be careful of GDPR and opt-in. So it's a really big problem. And when I work with, teams to go after leads in EMEA, we're definitely looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator the most. So you might want to lead with that. That problem statement. Like, I'm not sure what Costas's team is using or if that would resonate, but it's like, you're probably having pains trying to get contacts in Europe. You're probably using manual techniques or sending out of a sequencer and you're getting a lot of bounces. We can help you with that. And then I would just shrink it down. This is almost like multiple emails in one. And then I would just cut the signature to make sure you get deliverability right off the bat. And then just Cognism, I wouldn't know what it does or what it is. So maybe it's the problem statement in the title, a couple words like, bad bounce rates or, data in Europe. How do you approach Europe? Like it's something like that. Maybe for me, this is a different technique and it's pretty radical. It's something that the marketing team is not always happy with when they see my emails, but it can be very effective because it's so different.
Yeah, I really like that feedback there, Justin, particularly given Cognism's background in EMEA and like the data quality that you guys can provide post GDPR. But I totally agree. The mobile phone rule is the first one, right? How would it read on a mobile? That first line is critical. And actually, I think a lot of this email is actually very good. I quite like the one-word subject lines, by the way, because the idea is that it generates curiosity. It's a lot of people I've seen like 10-word subject lines. It's you're writing an essay, so stop doing that. I quite like that, and I know you guys have A/B tested that a lot, and it seems to work for you. So that's actually quite good. But I use what's called the F rule, and my first thing when I saw this was like, this is twice as long as it needs to be. Right? When you write email sequences, you have to tell a series of stories. Okay, it has to be. And I was on a different podcast a couple of weeks ago, and the way I do it is like, how do you kind of write a song? You kind of have like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right? It's the same for email. You've got to condense it down and make it really, really simple and easy to digest, because people are going along with their mobiles, and it's like Tinder. They're just kind of swiping left or right and deleting emails as they go along. You've got to make it really short. But I think a lot of this is actually really good. I quite like the open-ended question at the end. I quite like the fact that you have kind of personalized it at the beginning, but I agree with Justin and Costas. It's kind of like delve into that pain a little bit more. It's what you really solve. I'd love to see that here.
Why do people buy from Cognism? The CTA is right though. The Gong just released a ton of research and found that asking to learn about something, a softer ask, is actually working now. And I think that's just like, since the old era of sell the meeting and not the product, like can we get 15 minutes? Is it Tuesday or Thursday? These closed lockdowns, manipulative. People they don't want to be cornered.
Yeah. So I really like that. Like the hey bit is another Gong thing. Like, hey, just use that. And I think SalesLoft said that as well. Don't know why, but it seems to work. Open-ended sort of CTA is that first email. You can ask for one later on, perhaps it's like a breakup, but it's the length for me.
It's too pretty. You need to make it ugly, like chunk it, no paragraphs, funk the grammar, make it tight, no signature panel. It looks like marketing right now, not outbound sales. I mean that with all due respect. Hopefully you have enough autonomy when you're selling to write a bit funky emails, but remember, they're just probably going to sweep through their email and delete. So you want to catch them, 3-word title, and then that first sentence, like a copywriter. Purpose of the first sentence is get to the sentence, and you have to peek them. Like Costas said, can you catch the why even before he opens it? He sees Cognism, he sees the first sentence. Bad data in Europe, huge bounce rates. How do I fix it in, country XYZ? That's what I would do.
Love it. Can I ask, Callum, is the cold calling masterclass thing, is that the Mailtastic acquisition? Is it? Yeah.
That is through Mailtastic.
I thought that would be.
Little signature, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got to be careful what we say about that. I think there's some really good points in there. Kate, have you got any thoughts?
I agree with everything everyone said. The only bit I would add is I quite like the stories bit. Somebody mentioned stories, feel, felt, found type approach, which leads on from, you know, where you said, I know you should have a passion for fostering development and performance of your team. Similar people that we speak to have found that they've struggled with X, Y, and Z. And again, that's digging in. And what they found was, by working with Cognizant, we were able to for Costas, for example, to reach more people without the complexities that normally brings across Europe. So just that little bit of feel, felt, found, just higher up where you really beautifully personalized it would be really great, and would just allow you to get into that pain by just using a client example. Would be my own piece.
Before we move on to the next thing, the bit I really like about this is the thing that whenever I have worked with my colleagues on writing emails, we use that simple rule with them, right? What's in it for me? Okay, and you've done this really well here. Like, if you read this, it's like, hey, Costas, it's about WBR. We work with other similar companies. I noticed you have a passion, your team, you've considered your team, right? Reason I ask is because it enables your team to do this. And then it's only the bit where you talk about Cognizant. I actually really like that. I really like that you've really kind of focused on your prospect. Too many businesses get that wrong, right? They really just start by pitching about us. So you've nailed that bit really well, actually. I really like seeing that when you make it all about them. So I think that's a really, really good point you should take away from that.
Yeah, totally agree. There's definitely so much that you've all said that I've not actually heard before, or things that maybe I've forgotten. I think like one thing definitely is kind of like, just make it messy and fit on a mobile, I think is one of the things that I've never really thought of before. I'm always so about like making the email look nice. I mean, even if I spend like 15 minutes typing the content, it's the 5 minutes at the end making sure it looks nice is kind of maybe detracting from it, possibly.
Take time to think of a machine. Think if you had all the machine learning in the world, and you could even do connections in common with Costas and where he worked and something cool in his profile. It's still not enough. Go find, another, like Costas is on these 5onFridays. You could have found him on a YouTube, said at minute 6, you made this comment. It made me think that data strategy is important to you. Why don't we talk about your international approach to making sure your emails and phone numbers are working for your team? Maybe this could help you, right? I got this idea from Jeremy Donovan in his book. It's like hyper personalization. It's like an exact quote, an exact minute, something that a machine like probably could find, but never would. If he's a top prospect for you, then maybe these are 50 out of the 200 accounts that quarter. Take the time rather than the length here and making it pretty to find that little nugget that totally proves that you went in and looked. I did one where it was like quantum physics, acoustic guitar, and like some kind of B2B piece of tech, and the triple factor of that made it really fascinating. And then when they booked the meeting, they put quantum physics acoustic guitar jam is what I got back when they sent me the Zoom meeting. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Love that. All right. Well, look, Callum, was that helpful?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to realize there. My typical strategy is always everything changes in that email apart from that first line, and I think that's what definitely could change the most out of that email.
Great, man. Well, I'm glad that was a good exercise. Right, so how about we move on to the next bit, which is I believe you've sent us a video, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kate, would you mind doing the honor?
Can you all see the video screen so that I check I'm getting my technology right?
Yeah, all good.
Right, so let's press play here.
I'm from Cognizant here. I don't know if you remember, but we connected last week on LinkedIn, so thanks for that. Appreciate it. I just wanted to kick off by saying this is my very first video message like this. I'm not much of an actor, which is unfortunate for you, but I'm kind of just free rolling it, so it's a bit rough around the edges. Sorry about that. But look, the reason why I'm getting in touch is it doesn't take a genius to work out by looking at your LinkedIn, you're the global inside sales team lead at Armada. Now, what I wanted to understand is whether enabling your inside sales team to generate more new business opportunities into the pipeline is something that is of interest to you. Whether enabling your inside sales team to engage with more of your best fit prospects so they have better conversations with them, and then they increase their chances of converting them into something that's a meeting or whatever resonates a good KPI to you, is something that is of interest to you again. The reason why is Cognism, it enables inside sales teams to generate an increased number of new business opportunities into the pipeline. What it does is it enables them to generate the direct contact information of their best fit customer profiles. This is stuff like verified emails and mobile numbers, and directly engage with these decision makers. This information, it's generated in real time, so it's high quality and up to date. But yeah, if this is something that resonates, it would be great to have a conversation sometime, maybe this week or next. We can show you how this works, understand a lot more about your process in gaining new business. Thanks, Liz.
Great job, Callum.
Yeah, nice job, Callum. Brave, by the way. How did you feel doing that video?
Nervous, because like you can tell I put quite a lot of, probably like too much. I had no script. I just sort of like picked up the LinkedIn page and just splurted. So like it could have been a lot more like shorter and to the point. I felt like I was constantly like clutching at straws, but part of the like novelty of it is like you are using no script and you are doing it for the first time and you are on their LinkedIn page.
Brilliant. Yeah, I like that idea of no script.
I like the humor. You kind of laughed at yourself, which is good. It's kind of disarming. You said it was your first time doing it. Humble people who approach that way, you can win that way. I'd say do write a script and make those video messages like heartbeat counts, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. You have to hook me, catch me, peak me within 3 beats. So, I mean, that is a cool technique, but it's like, hey, prospect, I'm calling from Cognism. Of course you're trying to drive more revenue. Of course your sequencers are breaking. Of course your deliverability sucks. Of course you're buying Zoom info. Everybody is. Do you want to slot us in, try this as an additional data source? The best sales leaders are buying from 3, 4, 5 different companies on data. Your sales ops team's constantly testing. You should be testing where you're getting higher email rates. So shouldn't we be talking? Should we do a test drive? Super receptive, go straight to the jugular with the pain point. It is pain. Data is painful. B2B data, like I can't buy it. Like you have to go to, have teams of people spending weeks to get over 90% accuracy. It's a really broken thing. So, assume the pain and nail it in the first 3 heartbeats. And I think you'll be good. It's worth writing out a script. I still write scripts for emails, for cold calls, for messages, and practice them and drop them. I focus on my breathing, my tone, my confidence, make sure I'm not gasping for air. I try to take 1 deep breath and then hit it in 30 seconds. Pretty crazy set of ideas here. What did the rest of the group think?
I think that, sorry, go ahead, Kate.
Sorry, Costas. I thought the opening was great. I agree with Justin. The humor, that like self-deprecation is brilliant. I think I really like the fact that you focused on outcomes. So you actually nailed in that what Costas had pulled up in your email, which was, I want to reach more prospects that are my target prospects. So you nailed that. I feel like you could have just cut a lot of the end bit off.
Yeah.
Because you went into an enormous amount of detail about here's how we do it. That's for a later conversation. Like that piqued my interest, which is, hang on, I can achieve better outcomes based on some of the problems you've got. That's I want to know a bit more now. And the rest about how you do it is blur. I just focus it, but absolutely that initial bit and the focus on outcomes, cracking, and real confidence that came through actually. I would enjoy getting a video message like that.
Go on, Chief.
I'll second that, and for me, it's amazing how impersonal was the email, although you're trying to personalize it, and how obviously personal was the video, right? So first of all, you're natural, and if I was your manager, looking at these 2 things, obviously I would work with your email, but I would say, look, 2 more videos, because you've got a great personality. Like Justin said, charming way to start an email. You're a 23-year-old trying to find his way in life. Great. You know what can be more exciting about that? You're trying to do something. Kate nailed it. You actually used more of the things that would attract, well, would make me think, okay, what is this about? That you used on your email, you used on your video, right? And I'm not a video expert. I actually sent about 6 or 7 videos, none replied back. I do not know why. But what I would say to you is that I would like to know the people, what people, so I would take the approach of like, hey, listen, people that speak to us are sales directors who X, Y, and Z problem. Just shorten that bit. I would keep it 10, 15 seconds personalization right in the beginning, you know, charm me. 30 seconds on what you do, what problem you solve, what kind of people you speak with. Personalize it more for me, make it more, humanize it a bit more, right? Okay, I speak with people who have these kind of problems. Now, we solve these problems, 5 seconds, 10 seconds about concretism, and then finish it off. Hey, listen, how does it sound? What's your scenario? Send me a video back, whatever it might be, something humorous. But I thought it was a great effort, great effort. I really like it.
You nailed the tone, because I can tell by just having met tens of thousands of humans that you authentically want to help her. You're being humble and the intent is nailed. I can tell in your tone, which is 80% of it, that you're humbly actually trying to help her business. It doesn't feel like a gotcha, like, oh, you got to buy my widget. You believe in what you're doing and it's coming across. It's just to be a question of like, is it differentiated enough that it's going to be enough to rattle her loose from whatever she's using? So if she is using ZoomInfo or some other big provider, is it unique enough to take a second look? And it might be good, but to move to great, I think it's poking a hole in assuming they have a data solution at their scale that they're already buying. So why you? Why now? Why should she stop everything, take this call, you know, out of her day? So
I think it's really good advice from everyone that sort of given their input on that. When would you normally send? I mean, actually, what you said, it's your first video that you sent, Callum?
Actually, I was about to add in there. So that's a little technique that I do. I have done like probably about 100 videos like that where I say like, this is my first video, and I deliberately like bumble it a bit. But that's because naturally, like with no script, I make a lot of fumbles with words. So if I'm doing 100 or I'm trying to do these videos at scale, if I just say at the beginning, like, hey, look, just to be clear, this is my first video like this, it excuses the bumbles, and also like it's something that disarms them slightly. So yeah, that's something I've been doing.
I think that's genius, by the way. It's so good. And
it's not my idea.
but you could tell, in a sense, like you could tell like either a natural or you've done it before. But actually, initially, I was like, oh, it's actually quite a nice way of kind of, as Justin said, disarming yourself. But when in your sort of prospecting sequence would you send a video email?
So maybe not off the first. That video itself. So a different technique I would do is if I see a good prospect on LinkedIn, or I'm using LinkedIn just to prospect generally. Once I connect with them, I send them a video. You could either use like a tool like I'm using, Vidyard, or you can send the video through like the mobile app. But obviously, if you send someone a video in the middle of the day, they might not have the time to watch it. So what I do as a secondary step is I then send them email. The next day, I like stage the email to go out like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's their first email of the day that they read. And it's the same video, but it's just a subject line that says quick questions. So it like, triggers some sort of intrigue. And I just go like, hey, I don't know if you got a chance to see my video, but like I said, it's my first video. It'd be great to get some feedback. I just leave it there with a CTA, like, does it make sense learning more? And it's kind of like a less naggy way of chasing them up. Yeah,
nice. The reason I ask is because often that's the case. It's usually sort of step 3 or 4 within the sequence, or maybe even later. I've often found it's worked really well to refer back to the previous communication. So my previous emails, I spoke to you about X, Y, and Z, just to build on that. One of the reasons why I'm getting with you specifically is because I've just seen you've received a huge amount of funding, or you've just hired 11 people in your team, or blah, blah, blah. What you're doing is you're kind of showing her the LinkedIn profile. I know you probably do this anyway, but if you can find those really compelling triggers, those really compelling events, and show her that this is the reason why I'm getting in touch with you specifically, then bang, 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 right? And then you lead with that problem, the most of the people who are in the same situation are worried about X, Y, and Z. Now, and then you have that call to action. So you kind of chain the communication. Again, you can tell I'm a big fan of the story, but like chain the story together nicely.
I love it. It's social proof, right? If it's working for someone else, like, you know, I get it. Data providers hit you up all day and they all seem the same. But what if it was different? I think the big thing about the way I prospect and the way I've been able to break records is she will know that I'm going to keep coming until she says remove. I'll leave a voice note and say, hey, I'm contacting you about this. I'm going to follow up with an email. Next day, I'm contacting you about this. Like, I will be assertive to a degree where she really has to say yes, no, remove, or refer. We're not interested. But I'm going to try to get a response. So my touches are really quick. There's a book called Combo Prospecting that I've sort of featured in. So I kind of compress everything. And then I use a lot of visuals, right? Because a visual is worth 60,000 words. So you're trying to get 5 to 12 touches. Do you have a diagram? Do you have something visual out of your deck that you could send as a second touch, or some kind of collateral that's visual? That would also be helpful. But that passive, very respectful, calm approach is really nice. And she might see the intent and it might be, you know, attractive, but you also want to be assertive enough that she actually responds, you know? So there's always that, right, interplay. I think we have 20 minutes. Are we going to get a presentation too? Just want to make sure we don't steal the time.
What, from my end?
Yeah. Or is there yeah, are you going to do a demo or?
No, not doing a demo, no.
Okay, I'm just getting hip to this this meetup today. Sorry.
Can I just pick on that point what Justin was saying? I think Justin was referring to the video, but as far as I'm concerned, even your email was it's very tentative. What you try to do with email and any prospecting that we do, it's the same with the phone, right? If you pick up the phone and say, listen, I work with people that have problems with data bouncing and people sitting there twiddling their thumbs, can't get in front of people. Now, if you don't have this problem, we should not be speaking. If you take that approach, 9 people will say, yeah, you know what, I don't have that problem. But the one person will say, oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, it's very tentative. Your approach is very tentative. Now, you haven't pitched any of us. I believe that you might have a tentative approach to your pitch. Primarily, you need to be going for no, right? But I understand it's very, you can't make it, it's very black and white, go for no at the email, but you need to have a more assertive approach on your email and definitely on your message. You need a response. That's what you're there for. It might be a no, great, move on, but it might be a yes. So maybe work slightly on your approach. And I agree with what Justin said with the video, but the email showed the same pattern of behavior so far. So hopefully you will just kill the pitch now. Very assertive.
Yeah.
Justin likes to be sold to.
Yeah, I know sellers like to be sold to, right? The saturation of touches is really crazy because of what mobile phones do, right? We've been looking at these for 13 years and they're going away by 2035, right? It's going to be the sensor revolution in the fourth industrial, right? It's all going to be holograms and sensors, and we're going to, don't worry if you advertise or have a product, but phones are going away. Like if an alien came down and saw a human being, it's like a carbon-based thing that walks with a plastic attachment. This is a huge impediment. We need our hands back, right? That's just a futurism thing, but there's always going to be a method of riling up prospects. And the bottom line is if they don't feel that you're assertive, they can just duck you. They can just disappear. Silence is not golden. If you're assertive enough and frequent enough and you show enough hustle, especially if they're in sales, they'll be like, hey, this guy reminds me of me early in my career. He's really trying. Your phone's blowing up. It's buzzing like a bee swarm, right? You're liking their Twitter, their LinkedIn, Navigator, email. You've got everything going. And they're just going to say, stop, remove. It's not for me. We have another provider. And then when they say no, you say, well, who do you know? Or if they refer you internally and route you, who do you know? And so it's that balance to make sure you're assumptive enough and assertive enough, and then just being super direct. Data is a commoditized industry, right? It's really about price. Where can you buy it for cheaper? Like people are going on Lucia because you can get a single seat and one person can buy it and expense it. And Cognizant has more of a multi-seat model going after the mid-torso and head of the market in Europe, where you have to kind of get an array. So it's more competing with ZoomInfo because you have to buy multiple seats, right? Or there's a starter setup fee, from what I understand of the pricing.
Yeah. Starter setup fee. Yeah. That was right.
Right. So Lucia can kind of undercut you. So that would be my big question. How are you better than Lucia, and how are you better than ZoomInfo? And already start with that, lead with that in emails, and lead with that. Assume that they have the big player and pitch from the, David versus Goliath on the incumbent. And I'm curious on this call, what you have to say about that, because I'm a potential customer, right?
Yeah. So look, like the difference is clearly, I mean, GDPR compliance, that's kind of at the core of our data set. I mean, fully GDPR compliant data set is something that Lusher doesn't provide. And it's something that ZoomInfo also don't really provide in their starter sort of packages. It's something that I think I found out you pay extra for.
This would be how I would lead. What you just
Yeah.
nailed. I think you'd get more sales if you just started with that in the email and the video, and you're just like, here is obviously the pain, because you weren't the first seller in that patch. You would get my attention. You'd snap my head back, because I'd be like, whoa, I do want to nail GDPR. This has to be just critical, right? I don't want to get fined.
I think just to add to that, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, lead with that sort of point of differentiation, but also make them feel uncomfortable. Why is GDPR compliancy important? Right? There are companies out there that are getting dinged for having the wrong data because they've had subject access requests, whereby individuals companies are getting fined. Right? Like, I've noticed that you have 12 reps in EMEA, and you don't seem to be using us, and we're the market leader here, and we're GDPR compliant. And also, did you know that this could happen if you don't get that right?
Yeah.
How about we chat and we can show you how you can bulletproof your prospecting?
That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely. Right, and then there's and I'm kind of your buyer. I know you guys are a customer of ours, but I'm your buyer too. And I'm like, oh God, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I should talk to this guy, because then you become the trusted advisor, right? And that's what people really want. I think the message there is play the GDPR card as much as possible, and that really make your prospect understand the reason why that's important.
Of course, no, that makes a lot of sense, and it's something that I don't often do. So to sort of lead with big problems that companies should be listening to and educating themselves on, if it's not something they're doing already. Yeah.
Great, man. Okay, Callum, do you have any questions for us?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I also feel that the CTA, I mean, I know Justin said that Gong released loads of research, but I've always been a ask for 10 minutes or ask for 15 minutes. I think it's much more direct, and sometimes like Costas said, I'm quite tentative. Does me using those low friction CTAs, is that playing against me?
Potentially, but you know one thing you can do? Go and A/B test it.
A/B test it, yeah.
Right. You don't need to ask the question. Like, we don't sell your product, right? We are potentially all your buyers. The only way you're really going to find that out is by testing it and see what the results really show. That's what I'd be doing if I were you.
Do you have a sequencer, by the way? Do you have automation? Which one?
We're using that SalesLoft, so you can A/B test through that.
Yeah, so I would pick. And how many accounts? Do you work a region or territory, or do you have specific named accounts?
So me personally, I'm actioning sort of white paper leads, so action through marketing, so the inbound content and stuff like that. But as a team, we're kind of unlimited in the amount of accounts we go after. They are split into territories and split into sectors, but we're a data company. We have quite a lot of data,
So your territory model, and so you're processing inbound. So this lead, she came off of an inbound?
No, but like at the same time, like I'll do my own prospecting on LinkedIn.
Okay.
If I see someone who's a good fit, who fits a model, then go for them.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're going manual, that's a great opportunity to do hyper personalization. Try to get 20 or 30 a day. Yeah, CTAs, it's kind of crazy. I think F-curve tracking, it's funny, they've run F-curve analysis. I think someone said it on the call, but basically like executives snack emails. They have no time. If they even open the email, you're lucky. The retina, they hit it in an F-curve. They've done eye tracking. There's software that can look at the human eye and see where it hits. It kind of like hits the first line, hits middle, hits down. It's almost like a fight or flight response. It's like, is this dangerous? Do I want to delete it? Do I like it? And it's just like their eye is jumping, and you can see these crazy heat maps. And it scans in an F, right? Like in Asia, they read from right to left, and we read from left to right, bottom, top, and we're just like danger, important value. And like it's like this crazy supercomputer, and it's all happening in nanoseconds on a thin slice gut instinct. They've actually parsed that email before knowing it within a nanosecond. Your eye is taking in the whole thing, and there's a lot of reticular activating systems and all sorts of things going on. So that being the case, right, it's actually curious for us all to look at it and see where our eye goes first. What I tended to start doing on certain emails is I will use highlighters on the CTA. So I'll take a piece of the email and do a light yellow or a light blue to force the eye. Like red is the fastest to the retina. That's why stoplights are red, because even at high distance, green is less apparent than red. Red, actually, the red light wave goes further. So there's all this crazy science in it, right? So you only want to turn something red in an email if it's really important. I wouldn't prospect with red, but I would experiment with you know, the layouts, the formats, turning things different colors. There is deliverability impact. So any types of tweaks of what these things visually look like, you want it to be on touch 2, 3, or 4, never the first touch. First touch should be totally stripped of all formatting, no signature, no nothing there. I really recommend Josh Braun, the B2B growth guide, Beck Holland, some of her stuff. It's worth investing in that. But I take really unorthodox approaches, almost poetic license to my emails.
Can I ask one question, Callum? You said that you use the video as part of your sequence. Do you use it after an email, you said, right?
Yeah, after a connection on LinkedIn. So we'd maybe hit them with the personalized email on the first step, and then connect with them on LinkedIn. And once you get that connection, hit them with the LinkedIn message. So typically I'll do a LinkedIn video message, and then I'll follow that again with the video via email, just because sometimes it doesn't get a response.
I personally think that, you know, videos should be really early on in your sequence for contacting people, because I think you break through the noise and you can actually then personalize your message by referring to your video, assuming that not the whole world hasn't gone crazy with videos now. You know, you don't receive that. Well, I don't receive many videos, but I remember the videos that I've received with people, and there was the first point of contact. Like Justin said, and like Alex said, look, just test it. You just gotta test now what's working for you. But I think that the video was great. Definitely a tool that you should be using more of.
What are the questions you have, Callum? Like what's the burning, when you think of everything you're trying to do to attract talent? I mean, I have not seen enough differentiation. I've seen great level of effort is there. You're trying hard. You did the video. You're putting your blood, sweat, and tears in this thing. But it's a cold, hard reality is these prospects are getting 200 of those a day.
Yeah. One
and
thing
is Cognism data, like, what even is it? And why should I care? Skeptical.
Well, one thing I've been trying to do is like ask questions in emails. Like I did it in the first step email. Is that something that, you know, is powerful, or is it, you know, not that effective for you guys? Like, because I also have the feeling that some of the problems that I'm trying to, you know, enlighten on, my prospects don't necessarily know they have. Or
I think you, if you're going to ask them to give you something back at that stage, you have got to have given them something fairly powerful and a reason to give you an answer very early on. Because I hate getting cold emails where they say, here's a link to my calendar so that you can book time in with me. I'm like, in no uncertain terms, because it's just like, why are you asking me for something? You're speaking to me. Give me something. Give me something of value. Earn the right to ask me for something back. So I'm very unlikely to answer a question.
What is that value, Kate? Because you have Josh Braun here in the US talks about deposits before withdrawals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you test this data, Callum? Can you give me 500 leads? Can you give me 200? You're trying to do an enterprise deal and it's more expensive than Lucia. What can you give Kate other than some insights?
At my sort of level, it's kind of just dropping them with value in the email. I haven't really done that before, like giving away like 500 leads or like 200 leads. Like we do like a LinkedIn campaign where you can download like 25 free leads, but not 500.
Well,
but even if you were able to say, you know, let me link you up with somebody who I think probably has been through the journey that you're on. Right. Let me give you something that's not from us. Let me include you in that story. You know, let me give you some research. Let me give you a really nice tool set. Let me give you something that I've read out there. It doesn't have to be stuff that you've got internally. It's something that you're just giving without expectation. And you're exactly right, Justin. That deposit process is huge.
What are examples of deposits that have worked with you then? They just like
I
not
got one.
related to, yeah.
Survey. Just get a Survey Monkey or get like a free survey technology and rank what we just talked about in the call. Like driving revenue, GDPR compliance, avoiding fines, getting this stuff not to bounce in my sequencer. Hey, will you answer this survey and then see how these other 500 VPs of sales in Europe answered it and then hit back the survey to the list? That's immediate value. I'd love to know what the priorities are for my contemporaries. Costas, Alex, do you have ideas? What a deposit would be?
Completely agree with Justin. I'd like to know, I want to know what other people are doing. And if you can put Cognizant in the background, it's even better. Because what people do, they put not Cognizant, but their product first, and then they try to be the background, they try to give you information. I say reverse it. I want to know what other people are doing, your solution in the background, how you help people. I'll be very, very interested. That is why actually Saif, I think, posted this morning, and I said that what I like is, that's why I listen to podcasts, and I choose what I listen to because I want people that are in the same boat as me. I want to see what they're doing. So any interview, any podcast, that I will take definitely into consideration. Whether it's Cognizant sponsored or not, it's relevant, but it can educate me about what the market is doing.
Yeah, I think for me,
oh, go ahead.
I was saying for me, a lot of it depends on the trigger, right? The way not to do it is to use generic social proof to say things like, "Hey, we work with Google, Alex. Do you want to find out how we work with them?" That's a really bad example. I had that yesterday. Hey, we work with Google, and like, do you want to see how we work with Google? It's like, oh God, piss off. We're a hyper growth startup, right? The difference would be, we're working with other fast-growing startups, and their founders are asking themselves these questions during this pandemic on how to prospect and get the right connect data so they can fill the pipeline, because they've recently added 5 SDRs into the team. I noticed you just added 6 SDRs to your team. Do you want to find out how we help them scale and do that? I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, right? It doesn't have to be rocket science. A lot of the time for me, it's about finding those compelling reasons and the triggers and just applying it to your audience. And if you know your personas, you should know the questions they're asking themselves.
That's the why. I mean, that point that you just raised as well on the why, like create a Slack channel on where people are landing meetings and finding out why. Because once you understand the why, then it's so easy.
Yeah, Callum,
we
go
don't
do
do
this
that
today.
enough. I think that takes us to the next
approval.
level.
Go to your manager's manager, like go all the way up. I mean, I'll email your CEO, because I mean, I'm writing this book, so I'll be selling lots of Cognizant, I'm sure, inadvertently. But create a Slack channel and make it, meetings booked. And then every time a rep on the BDR team gets a meeting, screenshot it. The subject line, the email, the call to action, start throwing in that Slack channel, and then it's crowdsourcing. You're all looking at what's working. It's the best way to get networked intelligence and organizationally smarter. We did that at this company, and I'm doing that now every day. It was really powerful. I don't know if you have authority, but if you feel like I don't have the authority, like, I'm sure your boss would love it.
No, I think they'd be pretty accepting of that. I think that's a great idea.
Tell James I'll show him how we did that, because I speak to him every month. But Justin's absolutely right. Have a Slack channel, over communicate. That's what everyone has to do right now. Everyone has to over communicate. Before we're like, leave me alone. We're like, I've got my process. That was when the world wasn't on fire, right? Over communicate and make sure your team do. And don't be one of those sales teams that go, I just want to hit my target. Sell as a team right now, and your company will grow.
Yeah,
I love that. Kate, I'd love to hear from you. How do you foster collaboration around winning emails or winning, how do you take learnings in a silo and port it to the team when it comes to outbound prospecting?
Well, we drink our own champagne in our organization, so we use our own platform to share what's working right the way through the customer journey, whether it's prospecting during a customer success journey and onboarding, so that we can loop those back into the sales process. So this isn't about me and my platform though, but yeah, that's what we do. But share and collaborate for sure.
Can't wait to get Kate on 5onFriday and get her pitching. Right, guys, I'm afraid we're out of time. Callum, thank you for joining us, mate. Thank you for being bold and brave and exposing yourself. You've got some really, really good attributes, mate. You make it all about your prospect. You're not sort of too proud to sort of take things on board. You are clearly someone that it takes the effort to personalize. Hopefully we've given you some steps that you can take to kind of take it to the next level. But appreciate you joining us, and thanks to everyone else.
No, thank you as well. I've learned so much. So
Cool.
much.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Have
Callum.
an awesome weekend.
Thanks, Callum.
And
All right,
everyone.
thanks, guys.
Good one,
Take
guys.
care. Have a
Great
good one.
work. Total pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
cheers, guys.
Take care.